What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So you guys just saw that I was draining the gas out of my all-wheel drive CRX. Now if you guys have seen the dyno video, you guys know that we exploded a freaking axle cruising to the dyno. So I was gonna get this car ready for track, but I don't think I'm gonna have access in time to get this car ready for track. And when I got home, the car was leaking E85 from the back of the car, and I stuck my phone under the fuel cell to figure out where it was coming from, and pretty much the whole spare tire compartment was drenched in E85. There seems to be a leak somewhere on the fuel cell, but I don't know where. So I just drained the rest of the gas out of the car, and I was gonna tinker with it today. I probably am later some. I'm not gonna really like record this, you know what I mean? I just want to get down to the bottom of what's going on with the car. Today's goal is this car, CRX. We're gonna be working on the LSVTEC we assembled last week for the car, and I kind of want to start attaching everything that I have to get this thing more and more complete, so we can get this into the car. I went to the storage, I grabbed my stock flywheel. I believe, I'm not 100% sure if this was my ITR flywheel, but I have a flywheel. I'm not running the Lighten one, and I have an action clutch right there with a stock pressure plate to kind of give you a more stocker pedal feel. I didn't really talk about the transmission that we're going to be using in this car. I might change it later down the road, like not later down the road, but soon, once I put the tranny together, which is one of the tranny in my storage. But this transmission came from Steven. Big shout out to Steven. It is YS1 B17 GSR tranny. Now it's not practical for boost because it's so short geared, but it's the only cable transmission I have right now and the only one I can find around me. So I'm gonna slap this transmission into the car and then go from there. I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Brian. Brian came by the other day to drop off this box that he found in his mom's house, and I actually got the suspension from him as well too. Brian had that red DA with the case swap that, you know, he parted out and kind of got out of the Honda scene. So big shout out to Brian for all this, because a lot of this right here can come in clutch. We got some valve cover gaskets sealed. These are OEM Honda stuff. Brian uses OEM Honda for everything that he can. So we have a lot of OEM stuff. We got rear main seals, oil pan gasket, battery tie down. This is brand new. We got a bunch of rando clippos, like I said, hardware. These are like Hasport hardware, random stuff. He had these for me, wheel studs, OEM wheel studs, but I already had some on order that I installed into this car. But there's a lot of goodies in here that I know 100% I will put to use. Not sure what that is, but like I said, man, shout out to Brian, bro. Appreciate your support throughout the years. I got to figure out what all these fittings and seals are for. Look at that, cam seals. We needed this. Oh no, wait, oil pump seal, front seal. This is an action clutch rigid disc, and this was from Alex's DB1. He kept the pressure plate and bought a new disc, and this right here is actually in good condition. So I mean, for what we're trying to do with this motor and that car, this will work perfectly fine. The clutch that came out of Alex's LS motor had a brand new clutch on it, so he gave me the pressure plate. This is brand new, you can tell, nice and beautiful. Like I said, this should work perfectly fine. No dowel pin. That's what it felt like. No dowel pin. No bueno. We got flywheel, clutch, pressure plate, transmission, starter installed. Now, this is all I really needed to put on to get this thing inside the car. But before we do that, this car didn't come with an engine harness, so I got to dig through my box. This box right here should have 2 harnesses. I'll dig through it in just a second. One harness came out of this car, and one harness came out of that car, the CRX, because we're K on that car, and one of those harness should work for this chassis. So I'm going to pull the harness out. I'm going to route everything accordingly and switch plugs accordingly, obviously. And once we get the harness all nice and loomed up, nice and beautiful, we'll put it on the engine itself, and then we'll find the motor mounts, clean those up. So I just completely forgot about the half shaft. Since the half shaft is out and I have both the DA and the DC, I kind of want to talk about this real quick. But I'm going to be using the DC style on here because the driver's side axle is a stronger axle, and the reason for that is because the axle for the DA on the driver's side has a shaft, a male end that goes in here, and that can snap clean off the cup itself. Now the DC style, it's the opposite. So the driver's side axle is actually a female end, and it has less chance of breaking the splendid end inside the half shaft. So I'm using the DC half shaft, and I used to always talk about this but never shown you guys like, you know, what it actually looks like. So the half shaft, you can use either or on your B series engine, but you have to use the right axle half shaft seal. And the only one that matters is the one to the half shaft side. The passenger is all the same for the B series axles. And I'm gonna show you guys here real quick. So we have, this is the DC, so this is 94 plus Integra. This is the DA, this is the 9093. So if you look, this is much larger than this one. So this right here is for the DC half shaft. The seal is the same diameter but smaller inner diameter, fits nice and snug. The DA is much larger. Now the seal for this half shaft is on the cable transmission over there, and you can see it does not fit because it's much bigger. Now when people mismatch like half shaft to transmission with seals, people tend to have leakage and they don't know where it's coming from. You can put a DC half shaft into a cable transmission that originally had, you know, the DA half shaft, because it'll slide right in. Granted, this one's bigger. Now you can't do it the opposite way. You can't put the DA into a DC seal. So you guys gotta make sure that whatever half shaft you're using, use the correct seal with it. So this right here, I popped it off because I thought it was different, but it is the same as the one I just took off right here. So I'm just gonna knock one of these back in real quick, and then we're going to install the half shaft. Now most of the time I record with one hand and, you know, use the other one to drive with the impact, but I don't show everything. And everything that you guys seen I've tightened up to this point, I went back with a 1/2 inch of the size and torqued it with both hands to make sure it's nice and tight. So don't worry guys, the zapping just makes things a lot faster. All right, so I got one of my harness here all stripped down of the loom, and I cleaned the loom of like residuals and stuff. So yeah, everything seems to be here. There is some plugs I'm probably going to have to relocate. Well, not really. I think it's just a starter, since this is going to be going through the firewall, you know, where the fuse box sits, where the original harness is sat on the tower is located now. So I got to pull this through and kind of get it somewhere around here to go to the starter. Aside from that, I mean, the fan switch on the engines that are OBD1, OBD2, the fan switch is on the thermostat. On the DA block, they're typically right here. So I'm gonna have to extend this, or not extend it, but relocate this over to the thermostat ground, because like I said, they're right next to each other right there. And aside from that, relume everything. I was going to convert this to OBD1. Well, I'm probably going to convert this to OBD1, but I don't know if I have any plugs, so I'm not worried about doing it right now, because I can still access that right here in this general area. And the injectors are going to be left alone until I figure out what injectors I have, what injectors I'm going to use, and then clip it accordingly. But between OBD1 and OBD0, they're just like the little tabs in the middle. I think the injector that I can just still use OBD0 plugs for. But if it's OBD2, then like I said, it changes. Or if it's like a different style injector, it changes later. But again, easy to access on top. Half a roll of electrical tape later, we have a clean harness. Now, it's a good thing that I'm leaving this thing OBD0, because I just realized that I do have the OBD0 B16 distributor off of that engine. I also have the PWO B16 ECU, where I could just turn the car on as OBD0. Like I said, it depends on the injector. I do have to get a resistor box or a block off, but I do have both for, like I said, for depending on which injectors I end up finding to use for the time being. If everything seems to work with the OBD0, the engine sounds good, so on and so forth, we'll convert everything to OBD1. We already got the ECU jumper harness installed in the car, and I have the plugs to convert over the distributor and whatever else that needs to go OBD1. No big deal. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and just get this. I'm almost certain that was gunshots, and followed by a voice. When you put a B series in here, you have to change the rear mounts, right? Half sport is normally my go-to for swap mounts, and there are two sets of well, it's not two set, it's actually the OEM mount uses 3 of the holes. So when you buy a half sport unit like this one right here, it only uses 2. So I'm just splitting it as in 2 sets of holes, the left side and the right side. You have to mount the B series mount to the holes on the driver's side, right? 2 14mm. Use a washer so you don't mess up the billet. And I just realized I don't have a T-bracket, a DA specific T-bracket. You have to use a DA 9093 T-bracket, 9093 Integra T-bracket, and I don't have one. I need to throw a hood on this thing. Look how dusty it is. I want to use the water hose because I'm still going to be working on the car. I don't want the floor to be all wet and get my shoes all wet, walk inside the house and all that. This guy just drove his all-wheel drive car here, 100%. I lost a little motivation because I don't have a T-bracket, and the T-bracket I want to put on, secure the engine into place before I attach a whole bunch of other stuff that potentially could be in the way. Now I could do the fuel line stuff, could do the axles, I could do, I don't know, traction bar, all that, but in the order of me working on this car, I want the T-bracket in first. So I'm not going to work on this. It sucks to say, I'm not going to work on this anymore until I get a T-bracket. I don't know if there's any 5-speed DAs in the junkyard. There was one in Newark, which is 20 miles from here, but I doubt that's still there, and there's no other 5-speed one out here, and I can't use 94 plus. So that's what did you always say? That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. So I'm already cleaned up with a lot of my stuff, my tools, but at least for today, I might continue tomorrow. I want to put my shifter on the shift linkage just to get this ready to go inside the car. So if you guys remember, when I was in the storage, I was talking about the 94 plus Integra dual bend shifter. I have one right here. I've shown this, like how to modify this into the EF shift linkage, like I don't know how many years ago. Where was my car front wheel drive? 2017. Another thing I want to try, this right here was sent to the PO box, and this is the attachment for the front of the shift linkage to get rid of slop. So perfect time to try this out. Well, not try it right now, we're gonna install it and then we'll give a review on it later. So this piece right here I want to install as well. Goes in the front somewhere here, right? And we'll get to that when we get to that, but first I want to modify the shifter for the shift linkage. So I'm gonna unbolt these real quick. So I don't know where the shift linkage came from. It was in my storage, and I'm just taking a look at this right now. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. You see that? It says Hasport right there. Hasport, right? But it's innovative on this end.
You've been bamboozled.
Bamboozled, bro. This thing is a hybrid, man. Hybrid and innovative mixed shift linkage. I'm so confused. I really am. So this portion right here, because this is a 94 plus shifter, it doesn't fit the aftermarket shift linkage for the CRX with B swap. I'm sure the single cam as well too, but I'll show you guys right here. You can see, actually, you know what, I can probably get away with bending it, but typically I don't know, it seems to be shortened already. I could be, oh, it is shortened. I'm a dummy. It's already shortened. So typically this thing is actually longer, and it sticks up to about right here, and you have to shorten it down in order to fit in between this to bolt it up. But because I didn't realize this is already modified, you can see the cut, right? This should just bolt up right there. So I didn't even realize that. So I guess I'm just gonna bolt it up. This joint right here was super tight that it wouldn't move, just like this one. If you look, it doesn't move at all. Not sure who did this or where this thing came from, but yeah, I mean, it's if I loosen it up, it's pretty firm. I mean, the bushing is freaking solid, so somebody changed that out, right? It's like brass or something. But granted, we was sent this, so I'm gonna try this out. Go ahead and just take that bolt out. This comes off. It's pretty heavy. Yeah, this thing is, it's brass, bro. So I mean, this was pretty solid already, but I do notice that this is a little bit bigger. But then again, I mean, if I look right here, it's kind of bent inward. So I'm gonna tap that out real quick. All right, guys, so the shift linkage is ready to rock and roll. So we got this attachment in place, and this pin right here, once you put this into the transmission, right, you pin it pretty much where the bitch pin normally goes, and then you tighten this down to lock it, like to compress it onto the shaft to make sure it doesn't come apart. So I forgot your name, bro, but if you could comment down below and I'll pin it. If you guys are interested in one of these, look for the pin post and get in contact with him to get one for your shift linkage. Now this thing has energy bushing there, energy bushing back here, so this shift linkage is ready to rock and roll, like I said, and then we'll put the shift knot once we get it into the car. So as far as tonight goes, I don't know, I really want that T-bracket just so I can continue working on the car. Before I close the garage for tonight, guys, give a little bit more content in this video itself. I am going to build the -6 feed line with the filter to the fuel rail from the firewall right now. All right, so these are the stuff that I ordered a couple weeks ago and it's just been sitting around. But in the car itself, the engine bay, I already converted this line. I wanted to do this before slapping the engine into place. So the stock feed line for the EF is 5/16, and this is a 5/16 tube adapter to a -6 male. I'll put it in the screen right here if I remember to. I keep forgetting to put it on the freaking screen, but hopefully, Dana, I'm reminding you, put this fitting on the screen. This right here is a fitting that converts your stock fuel rail to a -6. Now we have a -6 from the firewall and we have a -6 to the fuel rail. We are going to be building the line that goes in between. So here are the other fittings that I'm going to need for the line portion of it. And you know, at first I thought this was going to point into the throttle body. I've done this so many times, I don't know how I don't remember this. I know the engine still has to lean back a little bit, but it's going to be cleared of the throttle body. So what I did was I bought a 45-degree to kind of angle it down away from the throttle body. In this case, we don't need the 45, so I'm gonna get one of my straight, which I actually used this morning. This right here should be plenty to go to the fuel rail from the firewall. Granted, we still have to put the filter in place. So this right here has a straight -6. Goes on like so. And then somewhere in between here, we're gonna be putting a filter. Now, I bought a 90 female -6 to female -6. Part number 10732 from Vibrant. You can use different brands. I buy all of this from Summit Racing. So that's gonna go right here on the fuel rail like that. I was actually looking for a longer one because of the VTEC line being right here, but I think we're gonna clear the filter perfectly fine. So that's gonna go on the fuel rail. Right here we have a Russell filter. I've used this for years in all of the cars you guys have seen here on the channel, other than this car, because this car has a -8 and it has a much bigger pre and post filter. 650133, 3-inch long, -6 to -6 male. So that's gonna go somewhere right here. Something like that. It's kind of sitting on the line a little bit, but I can adjust that out of the way. So from this hose to the filter, all we need is another straight -6 hose end, and we'll cut that to length. I could have sworn I bought it, but I don't obviously see it here. And I bought extra lines because I thought I ran out, but you don't really need much. Are you on the floor somewhere, bud? I have an organizer full of different fittings for, you know, you don't know what job you'll need a certain fitting for. So it's always nice to carry extra. So right here we have a straight -6 female, and all we got to do is measure out the hose. I'm going to tape it up, cut it up, and install that. I'm just going to loosely put this into place to give you guys a visual. It's going to come back out anyways because it'll make ease of installation with the T-bracket, right? So this comes down a little bit here. I swear to God, if I made this shit too long, I'm finna not be pissed because we can swivel it. I know, guys, my wrench has seen some better days. I'm using it to pop out ball joints. Again, just loosely sitting on here. because it's gonna come back out anyways. So much room back here when you don't have all the heater hoses in the way. I'm gonna block this one off and this one, intake manifold loop to the thermostat housing, and really nothing off the firewall other than the speed sensor and the feed line. So yeah, that's pretty much the feed line. Hopefully you guys get a little understanding. If you still don't understand, for the EF people, I'll put a link for the Honda Tech in the description below. Full tutorial has been on there for years. For the guys with the other chassis, the tutorial is the same, but your return line size is different. Now I am keeping the same hose, so I'm not A-ing on that side. Yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for me today in this video. I'm looking at the harness. This came out freaking awesome. Everything is hooked up other than O2 sensor and whatever the hell this plug is, but we got this guy nicely loomed, single going inside the firewall, and the other side going through the firewall as well too, nicely tucked underneath there. And yeah, I'm super stoked to have the engine finally sitting in the engine bay. So the CRX hood, I figured, you know what, we have a carbon fiber one on that one. The only reason why I didn't want to use this is because this is the color match to the car. Now if I ever put a stock hood back on that car for whatever reason, I'll just repaint it, no big deal. So KRX hood, weather was looking really crappy yesterday. I'm not sure about the rest of the week. Might rain, I'm not sure, but I want to throw a hood on the car just so that the water doesn't mess anything up in the engine bay. So I am going to wrap up the video right here, guys. We made a huge leap forward with putting the engine into the car. Now again, unfortunately we don't have the T bracket, and the way I like to work is to go in the order that I want to work in. So once we get the T bracket, just know that there's going to be a ton of stuff going onto the car. Our brake and rotors and stuff comes in tomorrow, so we can bleed the brakes and then get the front suspension all situated. But like I said, once the T bracket comes in, whatever I have laying in the garage for this car is going to go into this car. I am super pumped. I hope you guys are too. I am going to turn the car all motor first, and then we'll go OBD1, and then we'll go do some more stuff after that. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for the shenanigans, hopefully track doesn't rain now, because it looks like it's going to rain 80%. But if you guys want to stick around and see the KRX go down the track possibly, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.